This conference will now be recorded.
You know what? I did not have my microphone on. I apologize. Welcome to the City of Warrenville Public Works and Infrastructure Committee of the Whole regular meeting. It is Monday, December 13th, 2021. Please note that this meeting is now being recorded. Clerk, can I please have the roll?
Mayor Brummel?
Here.
Alderman Anderson?
Here.
Alderman Ashaw?
Here.
Alderman Berry?
Here.
Alderman Davalos?
Here.
Alderman Goodman?
Here.
Alderman Krischel?
Here.
Alderman Wagner?
Here.
Alderman Wilson?
Here.
Okay. And staff, City Administrator Coakley?
Here.
Assistant City Administrator White?
Here.
Public Works Director Cooper?
Here.
Community and Economic Development Director Mensa?
Here.
Senior Civil Engineer Hawking?
Here.
Management Analyst Kristen Youngmar?
Here.
And Deputy City Clerk Dawn Gravetti, I'm here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. If you would please, those that are here, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and those that are watching, please say silently to yourself. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now on to citizens' comments. We'll begin with any present at City Hall wishing to make a comment. We have no one this evening. Now we will hear from any verbal comments from the public that are participating by phone. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please announce yourselves with your name and address. Please speak slowly and clearly so we can capture your information. Once we have everyone wishing to speak, I will call on you one by one to proceed with your comments. Is there anyone who is participating by phone who wishes to speak? Hearing no one, we will go on from there. Do we have any email comments that were sent in today? Oh, no, we have none. Okay. Once we conclude citizens' comments, there will not be another opportunity for the public to make a comment. Now on to the official and staff comments. Mayor Brummel?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Two things this evening. One, a reminder to everyone that Alderman Wilson has resigned his position as Ward 2 Alderman effective the end of this year. We'll be looking for a suitable replacement, although he will be hard to replace, I admit that, and we will miss him. But we do need someone new to take over that position. If you are interested in that opportunity, please send me a resume and a letter of interest via email would be just fine. At your earliest convenience, so that we could set up an interview. So again, Ward 2 vacancy for Alderman. And also tonight, I'd like to announce that as of the January 3rd meeting next year, our city council meetings will return to the in-person format with the go-to meeting option still available. And I would ask Administrator Coakley to explain exactly how that works. John?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, so the council would be back in person if any of the elected officials are not able to attend based on the adopted policy, which is generally due to illness or business travel, et cetera. And we can get a copy of that policy again if someone's not recalling the exact details. They would need to apply to the council to be able to attend remotely. We did that some during the summer and when we were back in person for those couple of short months. We will also continue the go-to-meeting format so that citizens can watch and view basically a live streaming through this forum just like we do now, and then make comments the same way. So I think that covers most of the things for now, and we'll make sure that we remind you when that agenda goes out.
Thank you, John, and that's all I have for this evening, other than a happy holidays to everyone. Have a safe holiday this year, and hopefully you get some quality family time as part of that.
Thank you. Alderman Anderson. Oh, excuse me. Clerk Gravetti, do you have any comments?
None tonight, thank you.
Okay. The treasurer is not available this evening, is that correct? Right. Okay, now on to the alderman. Alderman Anderson.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Happy holidays to you all. I did also, I'll announce this at a city council meeting, but I think it's also appropriate to do so in this forum. I wanted to let folks know that just due to my change in circumstance, I will be formally letting the mayor know that I'm going to need to step down as an alderman. And I just wanted everyone to know it is by no means a result of not enjoying the work, and I will still have my home in Warrenville. And I just want to share that it's been a very special year as I've gotten to know many of you, and I've seen the work that you have all done. And I believe what you're owed is someone sitting in this chair that's right alongside you and able to commit the time and effort that you all do every day. I couldn't be more proud to know that those that are serving our local government are as gifted as all of you are and as committed as all of you are. I've let the mayor know that I am so encouraged by local government, the fact that we get to see the work that we do, and we're a better town because of all of you. And I've enjoyed my time, and it's unfortunate. This was by no means my master plan, but life circumstances changed. So I wanted to let everybody know that. Probably will be effective February 1st. Will be the final date, but we're still working that out to make sure that that's the right timing. And that's all I had.
Thank you. Alderman Ashour.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay. I have nothing tonight. Thank you. Alderman Davalos?
Thank you, Chairman. Alderman Anderson, thank you for your kind words, and we will miss you. It's been a delight. And I understand totally why you made this decision, but you will be missed, and your input will be missed, and your amazing questions will be missed. So anyway, thank you for the time you were here. Also, I guess I just want to say Groot agreed to, this actually worked out, but agreed to do landscape waste as of last Friday, but there was a little mix-up, and due to the efforts of the Assistant City Administrator White, we got another week. We have another week. So if anybody didn't get their landscape waste picked up, you have probably till Friday, whatever day you have for your waste material to be picked up. So I just wanted to let people know that we're questioning that. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman.
Thank you. I want to second what Alderman Davalos said about the tremendous appreciation we all have had this year for Alderman Anderson and his contributions. I know it's been a brief period of time, but you have impressed us with your seriousness, and taking this job seriously is a valuable thing, so we appreciate that. My announcement has to do with a new state program called the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program. I believe it's been in effect about a week. I just want to urge any low-income residents who are in need of help with their water and sewer bills to apply to this new program. The state has a $327 million program announced in September, so it's already been rolled out, but we want to make sure people are aware that they can take advantage of this if they need assistance or if they have disconnected utilities here in town. It should run through August 31st of 2023. And people who want information about the program can call the state's hotline. That phone number is 833-711-0374. Or they can visit the state website about it, www.helpillinoisfamilies.com. And people who have water and sewer bill disconnections during the pandemic, or for whatever reason, if you have an income of no greater than twice the federal poverty line, you are eligible for this program. We want to make sure, especially at the holidays, and especially in the middle of the pandemic, that people's water and sewer is not disconnected. And I know that we've done programs here in Lionville to try and assist our local residents with that, but the fact that there's now state funding available for the next couple of years is a great thing, and we should be publicizing this to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Kerschel?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Widener?
Yeah, thank you. I want to start out by thanking Alderman Anderson for his service and his contributions. And I wish him good luck with all his endeavors in the future. And also want to thank Alderman Wilson for his dedicated service and all of his contributions. And I also wish him the same amount of luck in the future. And see both of them around town, and we can gather some of their great input as we move along. Secondly, I had the chance to attend the National Cyclocross Championships that were held at Cantini last week, and it was an amazing event that was strategized, and some unbelievable weather situations were overcome by the DuPage Convention and Visitors Bureau staff, the staff at Cantini, and then the USA Cycling Association, as the ground was very frozen with 17-degree temperatures at the beginning of the week. And then we had some rain, which changed the course completely into kind of a mud path for a lot of the bicyclists, and also challenged the Cantini folks to put down straw and things like that for the guests that was over there. And then, of course, the windstorm really wreaked havoc on all the vendor tents and all the support tents of the bicycling clubs and the colleges and universities that brought teams of cyclists to the event. So they had emergency meetings and overcame the broken glass and the propane tanks that blew over, and all kinds of damage was done. So it was highlighted by the Midwestern hospitality that was provided by DCVB staff, and of course the staff at Cantini, and many of the spectators and the people who participated in the event. It was evident that they really enjoyed DuPage County and the city of Warrenville, and I'm sure there's some resulting benefits to our hotels and restaurants. Director Marchetti said that she would be getting us the metrics in the near future. I think she needs a couple days off to rest and recover after the week that she had. But all in all, it was a really successful event. And Mayor Brummel, I found out that I wasn't beyond classification, and there was an 86-year-old lady that won her age group. So there's still time for people like me to participate and get into the cyclocross arena. So that's all I have for this evening. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson?
No, I have no further comments to make tonight. We will next week, but tonight, just good night to everybody later, and I wish we all have a happy holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, City Administrator Coakley?
Just real quickly, I'll comment. We're going to miss both staff. I'll speak for staff. We're going to miss both Alderman Wilson and Alderman Anderson. And just across, this council has been just excellent to work with. If you don't always agree with us, that's fine. That's what the whole process is about democracy. but you do respect us, listen to us, and then make decisions. And from my view, once the decision's made, the council moves on, and that's a really good thing for local democracy. So I just want to add my 2 cents. You two have been part of that. Of course, the other 6 have been part of that as well, but individually and both of you, we will miss you. But we will see you next week at the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Now on to the business of the meeting. The first item is consideration of holiday observance schedule and communication plan. That would be Assistant City Administrator White.
Thank you. The city's newest commission, the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Awareness Commission, also known as IDEC, has been hard at work for several months, looking at opportunities to meet the city's mission and objectives for this commission. We have with us the chair of that commission, Betsy Dudak, tonight, who will present this topic for consideration.
Thank you. Yes. So I come to you tonight on behalf of the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Awareness Commission in requesting the council's consideration of the calendar of events for January 2022 through March of 22, including recommendations for the cities to observe these dates. The calendar is in your packet as Exhibit A. We've been meeting for the last several months trying to figure out ways to effectively celebrate the many cultures in Warrenville with the consideration that there are some limited city resources. The calendar I present tonight is just for those 3 months. In the future, we will be presenting more for future months to come after March. The calendar is intended for a starting point, and we do realize that there are considerations to be submitted by other communities within Warrenville, and we would love to hear from these communities. If you can email us at idec, at warrenville.il.com. We would love to hear from you. We're trying to do this through collaboration of different organizations, including the Library and Historical Society. We want to be proactive and acknowledging these cultures and these events. And we had to kind of start small, but we hope to grow from there. It's a little bit harder. So as you see from the calendar, there are there's a couple events there. We did not, we had to whittle it down, in other words. So we started out with January with Martin Luther King Day. In February is Black History Month. And then we also did Chinese New Year. In March is Women's History Month, Irish American Heritage Month, and International Women's Day. Irish American Heritage Month is acknowledged as a nod to our sister city in Ireland. So we are trying to stay away from religious holidays for now, for the whole separation of church and state, and it's something that we could discuss in the future, but right now the commission has agreed to stay away from religious holidays, which is why you won't see Valentine's Day on there. So are there any questions regarding the calendar, or our again, it's a starting point, and we would love the city's council to recognize these days.
Thank you, Betsy. I'll go through the list, and if there are any questions, please bring those up. Mayor Brummel?
Just thank you, Betsy, for your work. It's a good start, and I look forward to more progress in your goal of making Warrenville a place where wherever you are, you're welcome, you're accepted, and appreciated. So very well done.
Thank you.
Alderman Anderson?
I didn't have any questions. I could support those that were identified. I thought it was a unique question of, okay, what didn't make the list? But then I decided that's why we have the committee. And so I thank the committee for vetting those types of things. And I was comfortable with the list that was provided.
Thank you. Alderman Ashour?
No questions, but thank you for your efforts.
I also thank you very much for everything that you've looked into for these holidays. It's nice to acknowledge all of these different groups. Alderman Davlos.
Yes, I am giving thanks also. This is what I think is exactly what we wanted when this team was formed, when this committee was formed. And so I'm extremely excited. I think it's a great start with something like this. And Betsy, you mentioned collaboration, and that's exactly what we do really well with other groups, be it the Park District, the library, other things, who already do some of these things. So I think, and the Historical Society is really good with this. And so I think it could be a lot of fun. I think a lot of new things might come out of it. And yeah, I'm just really excited, and thank you for your efforts. And yeah, you guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman?
Thank you. Yes, just a couple of things. I think you gave an email address that ended in .com. So just a small correction there. I don't think any of our city email addresses ended in .com.
Thank you for that.
I don't know the IDEC email address, but if anybody is listening, change it to .us at the end.
Thank you.
Okay. Secondly, your description of Chinese New Year, pardon my ignorance, but I couldn't tell if it was the year of the ox or the year of the tiger. It said both.
I believe that the year of, I think they put the year of ox meaning this year, and then referencing 2022 as the year of the tiger. But that is a good question, and I will check and get back to you on that. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, it may be the year of the ox until February 1st and then becomes the year of the tiger. That's perfectly possible. I don't know.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I do thank you very much for your work on this topic. I wonder if the mayor would do any proclamations for events like this, or if we would reach out to the people in Ural, Ireland about our sister city, and if they had any input to give for Irish American Heritage Month, or just what sort of, I mean, a city Facebook post is nice, but I wondered if there would be anything in that that was content from our sister city or something like that.
Well, I think as a committee we have discussed, have started, again, we're just, we're pretty new at all this, so we're trying to model our, our first year is going to have some growing pains. So for now, I think we're looking to have, we would love to have proclamations before city council meetings. That would be wonderful. Maybe council, we have talked about a committee member doing a proclamation at a meeting as one of our ideas. We did talk about utilizing our social media. I know in the January hometown happenings, I put down a blurb for Martin Luther King Day, and so we're looking to start, and we have those ideas now. As we grow, we're looking for more ways in which we can promote more of these cultural events. And so, yes, to answer your question, I would love to have proclamations during council meetings the first of the month, and it's something that we have been in discussion with, and so thank you.
Okay, sounds great. Good luck with all of that. I know this is, a not inconsiderable amount of work, and I really appreciate you and the people on the committee for putting in the time on our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Krischel?
I have no questions. It looks good to me.
Good, thank you. Alderman Widener?
Thank you. I wholeheartedly support these suggestions and appreciate the thoughtful approach and the discussions regarding this matter by all the IDEC volunteers and led by Chairman Dudek. So thank you all for bringing these forward.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson?
I have no additional comments other than thank you for the work that you're doing. I look forward to the completion of the project because there are a lot of things still to consider. But thank you very much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, City Council. I just want to add that we do have a great group of people, and this is spanking brand new. So we have a lot of work to do. We know that. We just have to find out. We just had to start a jumping point, and from there we'll hopefully grow and expand and have more ideas. And anytime that you we'd love to hear your input from not only citizens, but from the council and employees, and we're open to any suggestions at this point. So thank you very much for hearing me out tonight.
Thank you. Assistant City Administrator White, do you have something else?
Yes, I just wanted to emphasize and add on to what Chair Dudek said. The IDEC group has done a lot of work on this. We will have regular newsletter updates talking about the different observances that the commission has brought forward for January through March, as well as future into the year. We encourage anyone from the community who has suggestions for the group to send an email. And again, that's idec@warrenville.il.us. For anyone out there that's listening or that would like to participate. We also have our meetings on the third Tuesday of every month here at City Council Chambers at 7 p.m. And of course, the public is always welcome to join us. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I need a motion.
Chairman, can I just add one final thing at the end?
Sorry, Alderman. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. This is Alderman Davalos. I just wanted to remind the public, especially all the aldermen know, but this, the work that this committee is doing is actually undergirding a whole section of our strategic plan. And each section is big and important. And we realized, I think as a council and maybe as a staff, that we needed some more input to actually achieve some of the goals that are in that strategic plan that have to do with diversity. So I think this is why some of us are just so encouraged by this, because it is part of our whole strategic plan. So, and we want to accomplish things for that plan as we go forward. So that I just wanted to remind the public that this is very important, and that's why the excitement and the gratitude are happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
With those comments, Alderman Widener moves to recommend the City Council approve the IDEC recommendations to acknowledge certain holidays and observances in the first 3 months of 2022.
Second, Alderman Ashdor.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Widener, a second by Alderman Ashour. Clerk Gravetti, could you please read the roll?
Alderman Goodman?
Aye.
Alderman Anderson?
Aye.
Alderman Widener?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Crucial?
Aye.
Alderman Berry?
Aye.
Alderman Ashour?
Aye.
Alderman Davalos?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Betsy, for stepping up and becoming chairman and doing a great job. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, on to number 2, consideration of city code amendments regarding the private outdoor seating improvements on the city right-of-way. This would be Community and Economic Development Director Menzer.
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, Mayor and City Council. The main purpose of this particular agenda item is to follow up on a discussion that we had at the March 8th Community Development Committee of the Whole meeting, and to discuss the potential amendment of the section of the city code that deals with encroachments on city rights of way. You might recall that earlier, or at the onset, or shortly after the onset of the pandemic, the city adopted a temporary auxiliary outdoor seating program that made it possible for staff to issue administrative permits to businesses that were interested in either establishing new outdoor seating areas or expanding existing outdoor seating areas both on public and private property during the pandemic-related indoor seating restrictions. City Council extended that program, that temporary program, on a couple of different occasions since it was originally implemented. Most recently, that occurred earlier this spring. And as part of that discussion to extend the temporary program, the City Council authorized staff to work with the city attorney on the development of the city code amendments that are included in the agenda packet backup as an Exhibit A to the December 8th memorandum that is also included in the agenda packet backup. And the main goal of these amendments is to establish a permanent licensing and permitting program that would make it possible for outdoor seating improvements for businesses to be installed and operated on city property on a temporary annual basis, provided the city would issue a annual license agreement to the owner of those improvements. The improvements that we're envisioning accommodating on an ongoing basis under these code amendments would be similar to those that Evelyn E. has currently installed and operates on the section of the Stafford Place right-of-way in front of her shop. Couple of key elements that I wanted to call out about the proposed amendments. They do allow these types of private improvements to be installed on a temporary basis with the approval of an annual license agreement from the city. The license agreement would be prepared by the city attorney, would be modeled after the existing license agreement that we use as part of the administration of the temporary outdoor seating licensing program that we currently have. And it does include specific and detailed hold harmless language, indemnification requirements protecting the city, and specific insurance coverage requirements that the owner of those improvements has to provide to protect the city's liability. Under the proposed structure of the permanent code amendments, there would be a requirement that the first year of any outdoor seating area that was going to be installed on city property that included either a parklet or the use of public parking spaces, or include the service of alcohol, or finally would be operated earlier than 7:30 in the morning or later than 10 o'clock at night, would have a mandatory requirement that at least the first year would have to be reviewed and approved by the city council. As it's currently structured and proposed, any subsequent years would be able to be reviewed and approved by staff, provided there wasn't any significant changes to the configuration or the operation of the outdoor seating areas. For those permits that would need to be permit applications that would be approved by the city council, reviewed and approved by the city council, there would be a $100 annual fee for those applications that could be reviewed and approved administratively by staff. There would be a $50 fee. In the agenda packet backup attached to the same memo I referenced earlier as Exhibit B, there is a set of program rules that staff is recommending the city council approve, and they would help city staff effectively administer the code amendments that are being presented for your consideration tonight. With that, I'd be available to answer any specific questions that you have about either the proposed amendments or the rules that we're recommending the City Council approve to support the administration of the proposed amendments.
Thank you, Director Menzer. And now I'll go through our list of aldermen and the mayor. Mayor Brummel, please.
Thank you, and thank you, Ron. As always, it's a detailed and well thought out recommendation, and I'm in full support.
Thank you. Alderman Anderson.
No questions. I'm very supportive.
Thank you. Alderman Ashauer.
I think it's a great job. It obviously started for different reasons, but I think the results are will have a long-term positive effect. And thank you for all the detailed work.
I also agree. I think this is good for the city of Warrenville. It'll be good for the businesses in town. And I'm just so happy that we are going to have some businesses that will have regular outdoor seating, not just because it's a pandemic, but they'll be able to do this anytime the weather is great. So, Alderman Davalos.
Yes, like the other alderman, I don't have any questions, but I did get a lot of my personal questions answered through reading this. So I think it covered a lot of things that I've thought about since we did the Evil at Eve program. So this is great work and sort of anticipating a lot of things that'll make it easier for us in the future to go about approving these sorts of things. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman.
Thank you. Yes, I think that the program is a good idea in general, and that the way that this has been drafted is a little bit confusing to me. If the city attorney were here, I would have a couple of questions just about why some of these things are written in the ordinance instead of being left to the license agreement. You know, there's a very comparable thing just a couple of pages in the middle of this one, talking about landscape license and covenant agreements. And instead of setting out a lot of terms for the landscape agreements, that provision says landscape license and covenant agreements shall be in the form periodically approved by the Warrenville City Council. It's just one sentence. You can sort of see that on page 3 of the document that we've been given. But then to have a lot of the things here written into the ordinance about hold harmless and indemnification, non-transferability, those are typically contract terms that would not necessarily be in our ordinance, but would be in the license agreement. So I just wondered why it was written this way. It seems a bit clunky to me, but I don't have any objection to the substantive program here. And I would just ask the city attorney a little bit more detailed questions about that if she were here. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Goodman. Alderman Kushel?
I have no questions, and I support this as well.
Thank you. Alderman Widener?
Yes, I'm fully supportive of this. I just have one question regarding accessibility. As we add fences and create these little parklets and seating areas and everything like that, is there anything in the language that we need to include, and maybe I overlooked it, that would allow for people with disabilities to be guaranteed the right to be able to access into these areas and have seating arrangements for themselves? Or is that something that would be up to each individual business owner?
The rules that would support the implementation of the code amendments does specifically state that the sidewalks must be maintained to provide clear sidewalk width and maintain that for safe pedestrian and wheelchair traffic. And that's really the only specific reference to handicap accessibility stuff. There is some additional rules that basically say you can't occupy required handicap accessible parking spaces with these types of things.
Thank you. I just want to guarantee that, the people in wheelchairs and that have mobility issues will be able to access and enjoy the same atmosphere as everyone else. Thanks.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson?
I have no additional comments. I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. Okay, we need a motion and a second, please.
This is Alderman Davalos. I'd like to move to recommend the City Council approve the incorporation of the December 8th, 2021 draft outdoor seating area city code amendments prepared by the city attorney into section 7-2-2 of the city code, and 2, the outdoor seating area rules last revised by the Community Development Department on December 8th, 2021.
Second,
Alderman Shaw.
So we have a motion by Alderman Davalos and a second, I think that was Alderman Anderson. Clerk, if you could please read the roll call.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Davalos?
Aye.
Alderman Berry?
Aye.
Alderman Kuschel?
Aye.
Alderman Goodman?
Aye.
Alderman Anderson?
Aye.
Alderman Widener?
Aye.
Alderman Ashaw?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, on to number 3. Consideration of IDOT local agency agreement for Trailhead project. Senior Civil Engineer Hocking.
Thank you very much. Since the last project update at the September committee of the whole, the community development committee of the whole meeting, I'm happy to report that we've been able to staff approved and executed a letter of consent with ComEd to allow the project elements to be built within the ComEd easement. As you recall from the last meeting, we were still in negotiations with them and review, and we were able to obtain that letter of consent that allows the city to move forward with the construction of the project. So because of that, we are moving ahead. We have moved ahead with the final engineering documents in order to be on the April 2022 IDOT letting schedule. The ComEd approval is the final approval that we needed to move forward with this IDOT bidding process. And in order to move forward, the city needs to execute 2 different agreements. The first one, as part of this agenda item, is the local agency agreement. This documents the cost sharing between the federal funding and the city or local funding. In this case for the project, after looking at all of the project elements, we reduced some scope. We looked at the different quantities, went back and forth and make sure everything that ComEd wanted or needed as part of their review was also included in there. We coordinated with the DuPage County Department of Transportation, who actually own the parcels that the project will be built upon, as well as the Illinois Prairie Path, because of the heritage display that's being included as part of this project. With all the elements combined, the total construction costs are around estimated construction costs are around $776,000. As part of that, there will be some engineering, which we've estimated to be around $86,000. So this local agency agreement shows a 75-25 cost share, because that is the STP program. Federal funding costs 75%, local costs are 25%. So the local share of construction and construction engineering will be $215,000, which was around what I had estimated back in September. I think I said $222,000. So it came in a little bit under what I had previously mentioned, but that is shown in the local agency agreement, and that is what needs to be executed by the city in order to move forward through the IDOT process. The next agenda item is the actual construction engineering agreement with the preferred and selected consultant, which I can mention in the next agenda item. But that is, those costs are incorporated as part of this local agency agreement. So with that, if there's any questions regarding the agreement or anything about the project at this time.
Thank you. Now we'll go through for comments and questions. Mayor Brummel?
Thank you. No questions, just gratitude that we're moving forward. Thanks so much, Christine.
Alderman Anderson?
No questions, just really thrilled to see us get to this point.
Thank you. Alderman Ashour?
No questions, thank you.
I, again, also am just very happy we're getting this far. This is amazing after all the time we've spent on this, and you've done a great job, Christine. It's just amazing that we finally got Commonwealth Edison to cooperate. So thank you very much. Alderman Davalos?
Yeah, I'm amazed we could do it so fast. Believe it or not, I didn't think it would go along this quickly after the setbacks. My only question has to do with the $215,000 on the back page, page 2 of 2. It talks about developer part contributions are anticipated to be used. At this point, we don't know how much of that $215,000 would be offset. That's going to be something that we'll probably figure out through finance at a later date. We just know we'll use some of them.
I think prior in this year, I think it was presented that this was one of the projects that was eligible to use those funding sources. But yes, I guess once it's put into the budget, that will be more clearly defined. But it is anticipated that we would use those for the local share. And as a reminder, the Illinois Prairie Path also has, we have an agreement with the Illinois Prairie Path to cost share the 50% of the heritage display. So there will be some of that $215,000 that the Prairie Path will pay for. We need to, that's what I want to do this week, is to nail down exactly how much is for the heritage display, how much the Illinois Prairie Path will be paying. But I believe it was a max of $50,000 for that. So.
Okay, that's good news. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman?
I have no questions.
Thank you. Alderman Krischel?
I have no questions either. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Widener?
Yeah, I'm very excited to see this project come to fruition, and we all recognize that it was on very shaky grounds for a little while, and through a lot of staff efforts, persistence and professionalism and leadership, we were able to keep ComEd at the table so that we were able to get this done. So as the lead, I thank you, Christine Hocking, and I also know that Administrator Coakley was very involved in trying to keep ComEd involved and to look for an opportunity to see this project through. So thank you, one and all. I'm sure I'm missing people too that were involved, but we truly appreciate the staff's efforts in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson?
I'm totally in favor of this, very much so, looking forward to it. And I will make a recommend the City Council pass a resolution approving the agreement and authorizing Mayor Brummel to execute the local agency agreement for federal participation in an amount not to exceed $862,817 that will be cost shared with $647,112.75 of STP funds and $215,704.25 of city funds for construction and construction engineering.
Alderman Widener seconds.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Wilson and a second by Alderman Widener. Administrator Coakley, you had a comment?
Yeah, thank you. Just quickly before the vote, thank you for all the positive comments and feedback. There was a lot of folks involved. Mayor Brummel helped, and I was at a very early on meeting where we got a lot of promises and then some folks from ComEd changed, and we had to almost start over with some of the new people. I did help convene and get people to the table. That was my contribution. I'll take a little credit there, but Phil and Christine again, just brought a lot of expertise and information. And I keep mentioning Christine because
We are on
she
three.
just kept with persistence and professionalism. I was even impressed, and I knew that you did a really good job with those kind of things, Christine, but she just kept relaying back to them, found, even corrected all the errors that they provided on things. We won't get into that. But you are all correct. This was on very shaky ground, and moving a company in a utility, a regulated monopoly the size of ComEd to quickly get something done. And she had shared the contact person that took over in the middle of the summer shared with us that normally they have maybe 2 other projects that they're reviewing with all their many divisions. And this year, because of COVID, I guess all the communities, park districts, everybody started doing new projects. They had about, I think it was 150 or something they're trying to review. And we're asking them, could you please put ours in the front of the line? And it got done. So I just wanted to add to what little bit of the background. I won't belabor it, but Christine, thank you so much, Phil, and everybody, because I think we'll see that project now.
Thank you. So we had a motion and a second. Clerk Gravetti, could you please read the roll call?
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Kuschel,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Ashar,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Number 4, consideration of construction engineering agreement for the Trailhead project. Again, we are going to go to Senior Civil Engineer Hocking.
Thank you. As I mentioned before, this item is the actual construction engineering agreement for the Trailhead project. Because of the federal funding, the SDP federal funding, the city had to follow the IDOT qualifications-based selection requirements for federally funded projects. The city obtained actually 6 proposals from firms, but based upon the submittals, the qualifications, the selection matrix that Phil and I reviewed, Engineering Resource Associates was the most qualified firm based upon their proposal that they submitted and the selection criteria. ERA, they had done the preliminary and final engineering for this project. So on top of having a great proposal, they also provided great services for the previous project phases and knew obviously the most about the project. The scope of work, the cost for their work, the fees, subconsultants, all that information is attached in the backup information. And this also includes various things. They will be our eyes and ears on the site, documenting all the quantities, making sure that it's being done per IDOT standards. Obviously, there will be a city building permit because of the restroom facility and pavilion. So we will actually have our city inspectors will be inspecting the electrical and the plumbing. But ERA will be doing all the site-related inspection services. They will also be making sure that the building is being built and looks exactly how we had envisioned it, what had been presented to the city council in terms of renderings. Obviously, it's right outside of City Hall, so everyone also can be their own inspectors, but we'll have someone out there every day monitoring the project. They know how important this project is, and we know that ERA can do a good job, a great job for the city for this. So with that, I will take any questions on the contract agreement.
Thank you. Now we'll go on to comments and questions. Mayor Brummel?
Thank you, and thank you again, Christine. I think it's important to remind folks that a project like this is meant to last a long, long time, so professional supervision of how it's completed is really important. We have plenty of qualified people on staff, but not to the level that's necessary to make sure this project goes forward successfully. So I appreciate the fact that we recognize when we need outside help, we get it, and we ensure that these projects get done in such a way that they're around for a long, long time for many people to enjoy. So thanks for all your efforts.
Thank you. Alderman Anderson.
No questions.
Alderman Ashour?
No questions, thank you.
I have no questions. Alderman Davalos?
I have no questions, but I'm glad ERA was chosen. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman?
Yeah, I likewise think we've had, good staff feedback on ERA, so I'm satisfied with their selection. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Kreshel?
No questions, thanks.
Alderman Widener?
No questions. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson? Alderman Wilson? I don't think Alderman Wilson has his microphone on. I guess he's not there at the moment. Yeah. Oh, okay.
There he is.
Alderman Wilson?
Here I am. You hear me? All right, I leaned on it. Okay. All right, let's see. Recommend the city council pass a resolution approving the agreement and authorizing the city administrator to execute the professional engineering services agreement in the amount of $551,000.
Alderman Widener seconds.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Wilson and a second by Alderman Widener. Deputy Clerk Gravetti, could you please read the roll call? You're muted. Clerk Gravetti. There you go.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Alderman Widener.
Aye.
Alderman Ashour.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Berry.
Aye.
Alderman Davalos.
Aye.
Alderman Kreshel.
Aye.
Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, number 5, consideration of future of fleet management technician position. This would be Public Works Management Analyst, Kristen Youngmeyer.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone. Based on a recent review of the city fleet maintenance costs, looking at the past 5 fiscal years, we have found it's been more cost-effective to outsource all fleet maintenance instead of having a mechanic on staff. In your backup materials, there is a memo that gives an overview of the fleet maintenance annual costs from fiscal year 2017 to 2021. From 2017 to 2019 are the last 3 years we had a mechanic position before that staff retired, and from 2020 to 2021 we have not had that position. If we compare the average annual cost from the years we had a mechanic to the average annual cost without one, we have found that there's been a pretty significant savings to the city of a little over $85,000 to outsource all fleet maintenance costs. realize this is only 2 years, but staff is recommending city council action to direct staff to remove the fleet maintenance technician position from the authorized strength ordinance next time it is updated. A little more background on this recommendation. When the staff did retire back in 2019, there were staff did interview 3 separate sets of candidates. 2 offers were extended, but unfortunately agreement could not be reached with either one. And during the recruitment process, overall there wasn't a deep pool of candidates that had applied. So just as a result of hiring challenges from that retirement, staff have been outsourcing all vehicle and equipment maintenance. A little more background on that. The majority of vendors that have been used for police fleet, a lot of those vehicles go to Radiator Express, which is local to Warrenville. Hotels is also used for auto maintenance. For some of the larger public works trucks, we use a company called Dutch's Truck Repair, which is just in West Chicago. And then for equipment, dealers for that for particular pieces used. So again, due to the significant cost savings, and I should also note that since moving towards outsourcing all maintenance, this has not been a significant burden on any staff time. There hasn't been any really challenges or issues getting that work completed. So again, because of this, we're recommending having this position removed. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you. We will go through for questions and comments. Alderman or Mayor Brummel, please.
Thank you, and thank you, Kristen. Seems like a very reasonable suggestion, and I support it.
Alderman Anderson.
No questions. I'm supportive.
Thank you. Alderman Ashour.
No questions, thank you.
I have no questions, but I am very much in favor of this. I work for a company that has a large fleet of small vans and large box trucks, and we have a fleet service that we source out all of our work to, and it has worked out very, very well. So I'm glad we're going in this direction, and that we are using local businesses for the repairs and service to our vehicles. Alderman Davalos, please.
Yes, I am also in favor. I'd like to thank Kristen for all this information that makes it fairly straightforward how to decide on this. And the other thing I just think why it's a good idea, and I may be wrong, this isn't my expertise topic, but as we decide on vehicles, be it the police or public works, they seem to get more and more technical and have more and more gadgets and more computers. And I just think it's better to just get these things to where whomever can has a special gifts and knowledge to get them fixed. I can't imagine one person knowing all this stuff. So anyway, I think it makes practical sense, and obviously you showed us through the data that it makes financial sense. So thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman?
Thank you. Yes, I'm definitely in favor of saving money. I think this is a very reasonable suggestion. I do have one question, however, just for the sake of clarity. I think, based on my own recollection, that one of the vehicles that we had that used to break down a lot was the Acorn van. And we don't have that van anymore. I wonder if some of this cost drop might be reflected by that fact. The fact that we've also outsourced van rides to Ride DuPage, and that may have also saved us on some vehicle maintenance.
Does anyone have an answer for that?
I can field that.
Oh, okay.
I would say it might be a small piece of it, but I mean, we've had several large trucks that go out and to the tune of like thousands of dollars just getting prepared for the winter. So there's probably some small drop it just one, because Acorn fan was just one fan, but there were occasional breakdowns and damage and things like that. So it's probably represents some small piece of it, but it's still a significant, really significant savings.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Yeah, I'm in favor of the recommendation. And I do want to emphasize that our mechanic, I think, Brian, was a very valued employee. And we aren't disrespecting, his hard work by making this change going forward.
Thank you. Alderman Krischel.
Thanks. I have no questions. I think this is another example of doing something that makes sense instead of just doing something because that's what we've always done. So I really enjoy and appreciate making decisions based on this kind of data analysis. So I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Widener.
Thank you. I have no questions. I support this program.
Thank you. And Alderman Wilson.
I'm totally in support of this.
Thank you. We will just need a motion and a second, please.
Alderman Davalos, I would like to recommend the City Council direct staff to remove the Fleet Management Technician position from the authorized strength ordinance the next time it is updated.
Second, Alderman Krischel.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Davalos, and I think that second was by Alderman Krischel. Deputy Clerk Goodready, could we have the roll call, please?
Alderman Krischel?
Aye.
Alderman Goodman?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Anderson?
Aye.
Alderman Widener?
Aye.
Alderman Ashar?
Aye.
Alderman Davalos?
Aye.
Alderman Berry?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Now on to number 6, an update on solar projects, tree management plan, and the complete streets. This will be presented by Public Works Director Phil Kukler.
Thank you, Alderman Berry, and good evening, everyone. I'm providing an update this evening on 3 initiatives that have been delayed over the last couple of years due to a variety of reasons. And when delays occur, it doesn't mean that staff has forgotten about or abandoned the projects, but it does, as I consider these projects, it did occur to me we should be better about keeping council informed of what the delays might be in the timing and adjusted schedule for the projects. So the first one I want to cover is the solar initiatives. Currently, we have plans to incorporate solar into 2 of the upcoming city projects. The first is the Trailhead project, which is Senior Civil Engineer Hocking covered earlier, is anticipated for construction next fall in 2022. The staff's made the decision to add the solar panels. So let me step back for a second. The building will be constructed solar ready, and staff made the decision to add the solar panels as a separate follow-on project sometime in 2023 after construction's finished on the Trailhead building. And the reason for that is adding solar panels, incorporating that into an IDOT project would probably be a lot more expensive than going directly out to a company that does the solar panels and getting bids on that specific item by themselves. So we did work with the architect to make sure that the building will be solar ready. The other project is the iron filtration facility on the proposed well site in TIF 4. That at this point, staff's anticipating that project would occur, that building that would be constructed in 2025, and that's based on an optimistic view that we'll acquire the property for the project probably sometime in the first half of 2022. That project has been challenging to deal with, acquiring property from Thornton's because they're extremely busy right now with a variety of other deals, and that project ranks a little bit low on their priority list. But at this point, we've got to project a schedule, and my schedule for that is the iron filtration building being constructed in 2025, and that solar will be part of that design from the beginning, and that's how that project will be bid. Any renderings that have been generated so far show the solar panels on the roof, and that's the direction we're giving our design engineer in that project, is to incorporate solar for that building from the start. Next, I'd like to move on to the Complete Streets Implementation Plan. You might recall that City Council adopted a Complete Streets policy in November 2019. That policy includes several follow-up implementation steps. Incorporating Complete elements into construction projects can be very expensive. And the most important implementation step going forward is going to be to identify a source of revenue from the city to be able to cover costs and the city's share of the various projects, whether it be engineering, design, or construction. With the pandemic and the related budget issues over the last couple of years, we've delayed this project until fiscal year 23, and I'm hopeful that when I bring this forward in fiscal year 23, we'll be able to have good discussion on possible revenue sources for funding the city's share of these complete streets elements. And lastly, I'd like to cover the tree management plan. Davie Resource Group performed an inventory of city trees last year and also prepared a tree management plan for the city. The inventory is in the city's GIS system, and staff is working with a consultant to make sure that that map can be made available on the city website with the other GIS maps, and I anticipate that'll be completed before the end of December. We're also evaluating the 5-year budget proposed by Davie and their tree management plan, and a big part of that is going to be street division staff spending a significant amount of time this winter pruning as many trees as they can during the winter, basically. Depending, that could be a high number depending on how much snow we have. I mean, it's at this point, the weather's been great and with no snow in sight, but that's likely to change in January and February. So they're going to do as much as they can this winter to get us a good number of an idea of how many hours or man hours it takes to prune the trees, and then we can start to evaluate whether that should be a service that's contracted out or whether we have the capacity and staff to be able to prune 20% of the city's trees every year. And staff is also going to be evaluating the city's existing tree planting program, and right now that consists of residents paying for the tree to be that would be planted in the parkway and then committing to watering it till the tree gets established. The city at this point doesn't fund any, outside of the emerald ash borer replacements, doesn't fund any tree replacements in the city right away. So this is something that staff will be considering. Our existing program is one option, and then other options to have a proactive tree planting plan, whether that be replacing trees that get taken down or even looking for places to plant trees. But that's something we're going to have to evaluate during fiscal year 23 and come back to City Council with a recommendation on a path forward. And I think that's it. I feel like I skipped something. Oh, under the solar projects, staff is also, as part of the fiscal year 23 work plan, going to be evaluating the feasibility of solar on a few public works facilities, the Public Works Building and 3 of the existing city well sites. And that'll be Kristen Youngmeyer and John Satter will be working with our facilities maintenance supervisor, Doug Eganey, to evaluate the different buildings, talk with contractors, and also with ComEd about the feasibility of putting solar on those facilities, and also evaluating the cost benefit of doing so. And at some point during fiscal year 23, we'd bring back a report on the results of that, and hopefully a schedule for potentially getting some of those done, provided there's a cost benefit to it and City Council is supportive of that. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on those 3 initiatives.
Thank you. Now we'll go on to comments and questions. Mayor Brummel?
No questions, just appreciate the update, Phil. Thank you.
Alderman Anderson?
No questions. Great series of initiatives. Thank you.
Alderman Ashour?
No questions, but the backup material was very interesting.
Thank you. I have no questions. Alderman Davalos?
No, I don't have any questions, but I'm the liaison to the Environmental Advisory Commission, and all of these initiatives are so important to them, and we talk about them periodically, and the people on that commission are asking for updates. So I think myself and David Romero, who is the staff liaison to the EAC, this is wonderful information for us to talk about, and just to not only let that commission, but let the city know that we're in this thing to try to, these are the areas of the future, and it's going to make a big difference. So thank you for all this information that I can just copy and send forward. I appreciate it. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman?
Thank you. On the topic of the solar installation, I know the city staff has talked about this in the past in the context of not having an expertise on staff to build the solar and figure out how to do that. But I know there are several reputable companies right now, which, at least in the residential solar, and I believe also the commercial solar field, go around, they're building and installing these things for no upfront cost and license it, on a monthly fee basis to homeowners. I have a friend who recently installed similar panels on his garage. It seems like the kind of thing that the expertise can be done externally with relative ease right now. And so I think if the city remains interested in this, even without large amounts of upfront capital, sort of understanding what the monthly fees will be, it shouldn't be too hard to evaluate the costs. I hope that staff can contact a few of these reputable companies and get some idea about that without needing any particular expertise. If residential homeowners are putting these on their garage with no upfront costs, I think the city can manage it too. And I have confidence in staff. And I know the city council has expressed its desire to have a project like this many times. So I hope we can move forward in this fiscal year. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Krischel.
I have no questions. I think the only call out I would make is in the tree program, tree removals. I see 110. So just for public information, I think that sometimes when citizens see trees being removed, even if for the right reason, sometimes there's some disappointment and whatnot. So just calling that out that that's a pretty big number. So that's it.
Thank you. Alderman Widener.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the report. Appreciate it. I noticed in the bullet points that there's going to be copies of some of these things that'll be provided to the Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. And I would just ask you to keep in mind the EAC, as Alderman Davalos has asked, and also IDEC. Many of these issues also reflect on equity and affect our community. And I would like to see more frequent updates with these matters. These were tier 3, I think, in previous budgets. And with all of us, the future is faster than you think. Some of these programs will address climate situations, and we all see the seriousness of some of the things that are happening to our climate and affecting people's lives and communities. And I think there's certain things that we can do if we maybe just pushed a little bit to expedite these. And I have a few questions specifically about the tree planting opportunities. Currently, the status quo that the city administers is, that we take down the trees, but there is not a one-for-one replacement. So those 110 trees that were removed are not going to be replaced. And that affects the urban tree canopy, which is important for a number of reasons, as was outlined in the inventory. It's not just aesthetics, it's, stormwater, shade, people having the ability to have a lower fuel bill because their shade and so forth. No, people can purchase their own tree from a list that the city provides, and that could keep up with the one-for-one, but I don't see many people that have the ability to afford a parkway tree, and I think the expectation to maintain it, hopefully with training and education, they would be able to do that. But I would strive, I think, for no net loss of trees and at least have a one-for-one replacement as we move forward, and not just strict removals of diseased and trees that are in bad health. There were a lot of tree planting opportunities that were listed in the last inventory. looking at this one, I did not see a listing of the total tree planting opportunities. But if we just leave it to the residents, you know, they're going to be buying, you know, $5 or $10 trees at the local hardware store, big box facility, and we'll be having trees planted in our parkways that aren't by design, that they're randomly planted by people who have good intentions and want to plant trees. So I think the city really needs to have a replacement program and not rely on its citizens. We've seen how with restorations and things like that, that it's better for the city to take hold of these matters and not rely on individuals or volunteer groups to counter the effects of the tree removals. And trees are reasonably priced, and I think there's a lot of grants that are available. We have a lot of expertise in the area. We can just look over to Lyle at the Morton Arboretum and get lots of help for the program. You know, it's if we're not planting more trees than we're taking down, it's kind of laughable that we call ourselves a tree city and pride ourselves on that part of our strategic plan. So I really hope that as staff evaluates this, that we'll get more frequent updates, that we'll push to get things done maybe a little quicker in light of the current climate circumstances, and that we will truly become a tree city where we're planting more trees than we're taking down. That's not an acceptable status quo to me. So those are my comments, and I thank staff's efforts. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson.
Well, I'm going to just get to the solar situation a little bit. I've been 7 years now, I've been trying to get us to do some solar for the city. We don't have to have the engineering and the expertise within our city staff. There are many, many companies out there that would be willing at no cost to examine our capabilities, what we might be able to do to turn to solar for some of the electricity charges that we have. So I know it's been suggested that it's back on the program, but I wish that it had taken place earlier, and I know that I won't be around too much longer to look for the answer, but someday I hope to have us as a city engage with outside expertise to find out what we can do to go solar. So thank you very, very much for all the efforts so far. I hope we can go a little bit further. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Are there any more comments or questions at this time? Okay, that was a information only item. All right, on to number 7, discussion of the draft FY 2023 Citywide Work Plan. The Assistant City Administrator, Christina White.
Thank you. We are officially kicking off budget season with the fiscal year 23 Citywide Work Plan. This is the beginning part of this process where we provide a draft work plan. As a reminder from previous years, the Citywide Work Plan is essentially a compilation of all of the different department work plans and the activities that affect multiple departments in our larger scale sort of one-time projects that the city will be undertaking or considering for the upcoming budget year. Tier 1 initiatives and Tier 2 initiatives are those that are expected to occur in the upcoming fiscal year, whereas Tier 3 are things that are on the list that may occur, but depending on resources, likely will not. This is an informational item and a time for the City Council to provide feedback and ask any questions. Before we get to that, I do have one change, and that is that the item listed for the Facilities and Space Needs Study at the Police Department, which is CW-12 on the list, has been moved to Tier 3 for the upcoming fiscal year. Again, indicating that we do not anticipate moving forward with that item this upcoming year. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Comments and questions? Mayor Brummel.
No questions, just thank you, Christina.
Thank you. Alderman Anderson?
Yeah, just two questions. I know we have several city work plans. We've got the body of work around the private roads that we're working on. Is that a different work plan, or would that be in this work plan?
That, if it doesn't affect multiple departments, would be in the department work plans. So if it's not on this list, it's likely to come through on a department work plan for the fiscal year 23. And that, I believe, is Public Works, so I can refer that to Public Works Director Kukler.
Yeah, the Riggy and Barclay, that's on the Public Works work plan, and I'm still hoping that we can get the easement agreements done this year. We've just recently distributed those, so I'm hopeful that we can complete that this year, but there's a chance that that bleeds over into fiscal year 23.
Okay, and the second one, I was thinking the road that's in kind of near my neighborhood that's not been completed, that we evaluated probably about a year ago in conjunction with a resident that was going to be near that road. Would that be on this particular work plan, or is that still a live issue?
Is that Point Oak Drive?
No, it's not Point Oak. I'll email you on that.
Okay.
Nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Ashour.
My only question is, I see that we're finally in line for the completion of the design and implementation of the Mazik city design. And is that something where we should do an internal evaluation of that? Whether that's something that should be recommended to another city, if all our departments are on track with what has happened with that. It was a big, expensive, hugely time-consuming endeavor, and I think some type of internal evaluation would be appropriate.
Thank you, Alderman Ashour. We will likely be evaluating the success of that program. We are not far enough along on Mazik City to do that just yet, but we do have elements of it going live and continuing work on that item. So yes, we will likely need to evaluate it in depth and figure out if there's any gaps to that piece, as well as the financial and operational piece under Dynamics 365, and continue discussions about software needs and whether or not there's more pieces to it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have no questions. Alderman Davalos?
No, I don't have questions either, but I do like that this gets constantly updated, even the tier 3. Sometimes I forget where things are, and then they show up on 3. It's like, oh, good, they're still around somewhere. So this is actually really helpful. I always keep it close by just to kind of see where things are going and what the status of the city is for the whole work plan. So thank you very much. It'll be great for the budget.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman.
Yes, two things. Hold on, maybe a third thing. I don't see anything about solar on the citywide work plan. In the past, it has been on the citywide plan and not just on the departmental plans. I think in particular, if we're talking about an arrangement, anything like my friend in his garage, we would need the finance department involved because it could involve long-term financing, and this wouldn't necessarily just be a public works only initiative. So even if we're just evaluating solar, I'd like to see that on the citywide work plan, since it's a multi-department thing, instead of just an individual department work plan, if that seems reasonable to staff. Secondly, I guess my question would be about CW5. Could you say a little bit more about implementation of ERP purchasing procedures? I assume that means purchasing using the ERP, purchasing other goods, and not purchasing ERP services?
Sure. So that refers to the actual implementation of the purchasing module within Dynamics 365. That is substantially going to change how city purchasing occurs. One example of that is the use of purchase orders. So there's some training and policy updates that need to occur around how we purchase items, how we use purchasing currently versus what will happen once the ERP is fully implemented.
Okay, that's what I thought that this meant, but it just wasn't entirely clear. I think, yeah, a new purchasing module is something that everyone in all departments are going to have to be trained on and certainly understand how that works, and that makes sense for a citywide plan. But just a little bit above that, under CW2, it surprises me to see evaluate three-way stop condition at Batavia and Farnville Road listed on the citywide work plan at all, frankly, and also at such a very high priority. You know, if you look, for example, at the 2022 Public Works Department work plan, they mentioned that stop sign, they have it marked completed, working with community development to evaluate and potentially replace the free flow right turn lane with stop sign. So I understand that this isn't exactly what is being anticipated here, but evaluating a three-way stop, I see no demand for this from the community. I think it's a bit different than the planning for redevelopment site number 2, and I just don't understand why it's such a multi-department item, especially if Public Works says their part is complete.
Oh, okay. Director Menzer, you have an answer?
Okay, thank you. The evaluation that we're proposing would need to involve the Public Works Department because we're talking about not evaluating it through some type of theoretical engineering study of projected volumes of traffic and how that would theoretically be changed if we put a stop condition. We're talking about actually installing a stop sign at that location and grinding off the existing median that prevents people that are traveling eastbound on Warrenville Road from turning left onto northbound Batavia Road. So there's some physical improvements that would need to be implemented in conjunction with next year's road program. And in the proposed budget, we're proposing to include those funds. So that's why it involves the Public Works, and it's not, you know, a huge amount of money, but there is some expenditure that would have to be made to make those physical modifications so we could evaluate in real world situation or what those modifications mean from a traffic circulation standpoint in that area. And the overriding importance of this project is because if it turns out that that stop condition is creates some kind of unintended and unacceptable traffic circulation backup problems in those intersections there, then we would have to completely reevaluate the feasibility of installing new on-street parking at some point in the future along the Batavia Road frontage of the Old Town redevelopment site number 2. And if on-street parking is not feasible in that location, that means either the scope and scale of redevelopment on the private property needs to be evaluated and shrunken essentially, or additional on-site parking would need to be provided. And all those things feed into the actual cleanup plans that we're going to need to design and then implement on the property.
See, I feel like you're jumping the gun here. The City Council hasn't decided to make that change at that intersection. I think the public feedback would be very negative. And going ahead and, you know, grinding that down and putting a stop sign in before we've had a chance to do some of those other things just seems premature. It seems like you're putting the cart before the horse and doing things somewhat in the wrong order. You know, obviously other people can disagree with me, but this council hasn't voted to do that yet. And I don't know if they would. And it just feels like we should ask that question before we put this as such a high priority citywide work plan item that we're going to go ahead and do. I know there was one public information meeting where a lot of people talked about that property, but when I had a discussion, I think it was the day afterwards, with Warrenville and Bloom, many of whom had attended that meeting virtually, none of them appreciated the point about that this would become a three-way stop, and they were not in favor of it. So, going on public feedback just based on that one meeting, I feel like it's too premature that the public is in favor of this, so that we should, move full speed ahead into changing that intersection around just to see how it goes and whether we break everybody's commute too badly. I don't agree with that plan. So that's my feedback.
Thank you. Alderman Krischel?
Yeah, I have no questions. Thank you.
Alderman Widener?
Yes, my only comment is for a long time the city was working on the transfer of city-maintained parks to the Park District, and I just wonder whether that project is completed or whether we're taking a year off from pursuing those actions. And if not, maybe that should be included as part of in someone's work plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson?
We've spent a lot of time on that intersection down there on the development of that area where Citgo. We have to be looking at the whole development of that area down there. If we're going to have businesses put down there or apartments or whatever, the growth, we're going to have to change the intersection. And that's going to have to be a part of it, to change it a little bit further, perhaps, from the way we've looked at the possibility of redeveloping the Citgo property. So I think there's a lot more information that we're going to need, but a lot more differences that we're going to have to overcome. The fact that people may not like the fact that there's going to be a stop, is that going to stop our development of that Citgo property? I really don't know, and I know we need to look more deeply into it. But this idea that some people that don't want to do the three-way stop at that intersection, I don't think that should be the tail that wags the dog. So I think we need further information into this, but we have to go forward with what we had planned to do several years ago in the plan for that whole intersection. So I like to see more stuff done on it. I don't want to stop it because a few people don't want to have to stop to make a left turn. It's my comment. It may not be appreciated, but that's my comment.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. We'll go on to item number 8, which is the review and file the Public Works Department FY 2022 Work Program and Decision Package Status Report. This is also information only. I will go through the list to see if there are any comments or questions. Mayor Brummel?
Thank you. No comments or questions.
Okay. Alderman Anderson?
No comments or questions.
Thank you. Alderman Ashour?
No questions, thanks.
I have no questions. Alderman Davalos?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman?
Nothing from me.
Thank you. Alderman Krischel?
No questions.
Thank you. Alderman Widener?
Thank you. No questions.
Thank you. And Alderman Wilson?
I have no questions, and glad to see you back, Claire. Thank you. You did a good job.
Thank you. Okay. Very good. That's we're completed for the portion of the business of the meeting. We have nothing under miscellaneous, and we only ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second, Alderman Anderson.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Wilson and a second by Alderman Anderson. I guess I have to go through the list again. Alderman Anderson?
Aye.
Oh, sorry, the clerk will do that. Thank you.
And Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Ashaw.
Aye.
Alderman Berry.
Aye.
Alderman Davalos.
Aye.
Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Alderman Chrisell.
Aye.
Alderman Widener.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye. Thank you again, Claire.
You're welcome. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining us tonight. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
This conference